you did an excellent TV deal. The Tier 1 deal was, I think it was, 5X the prior deal or somewhere in that range. Do you remember off the top of your head what the leap was from prior deal to?
So we went from an average annual TV deal of about $60 million a year to $250 million a year. Yeah. The first year of our television agreement with ESPN and Fox in 2012, we went from about a little over 60 million that year to over 180 million. So 3 times or triple the growth from the last year of our old TV deal to the first year of our new TV deal. And substantially more over a 12-year period. And I remember those numbers specifically because one of the issues we had to work through as a league was getting schools to agree to pool all their rights on the one hand. Previously, schools would sell individual RSN deals. But also, I was a big believer schools should share revenue equally. And at that stage, USC and UCLA were getting more than other schools in the conference because they were on TV more often, and only half the TV revenue was shared equally. The other half was shared based on how often you were on TV or how many so-called units you would get. I was a big believer that everyone should share equally on conference-generated TV revenue for a variety of reasons. And we had agreed that we would move to equal revenue sharing after 5 years or when we tripled our TV revenue, whichever happened first. And so I remember that 3 times lift the first year because we went to equal revenue sharing in the first year of our new TV deals.
Day one. Yeah, someone underpredicted the potential. But I think a lot of people underpredicted that. I mean, that was big news at the time. I mean, I think it made a lot of conferences look inward and say, wait a minute, Pac-12, just leapt past us. Well, looking back at that, clearly the Tier 1 deal was a success. We know it's been discussed ad nauseum, in the press, the challenges and the headwinds that the Pac-12 Network has faced. I'd love for you to take us through anything you do differently looking back now at the wholly owned conference network as well as your Tier 1 deal.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that's probably a good level set, and you were around at the time and following this, is on the heels of a record-breaking TV deal with ESPN and Fox that kind of blew away all predictions. I'll have to dig out what Navigate's estimates were at that time, although you weren't Navigate, because I'm sure we blew them out of the park.
We were Navigate. Navigate started in 2006. Actually, we have some really accurate stuff out there on that, but it would have underestimated what you did Tier 1 and overestimated what the network said. Produced. And to be clear, there was a lot of serendipity involved in that. I mean, I think there was good planning, but you do also have to get fortunate and lucky, and we were for a variety of reasons. So be that as it may, on the heels of exceeding any expectations in terms of what we would generate from our Tier 1, Tier 2 deals, it was a strong desire to create our own TV network, primarily to give exposure for Olympic sports. There was a lot of envy about what the Big Ten was doing. It was the only other conference that had its TV network. They were getting exposure for Olympic sports that we weren't getting. Pac-12 has always prided itself on being the conference of champions, winning more NCAA championships than any other, having the best Olympic sports athletes. And there was a feeling, boy, we should have our own network too. We should get exposure for our athletes. Why are we falling behind the Big Ten in this regard? So that was a high priority, but it was not a financially motivated venture. I remember the business plan I had to present to our presidents and chancellors, and it was a commitment that we would break even. And I showed them the math, how through the guaranteed distribution agreements we had, even without any advertising, it would at least break even, and we'd right size it, and they had that commitment. And there were, of course, models that would show significant revenue coming back if certain things broke. But the network wasn't created on the basis that it was going to be a revenue spinner for the universities at the time. Now, over a 12-year period, as other leagues created networks like the SEC, ACC more recently, Big Tens was very, very profitable. It became clear that we were not generating the profits that others were. And as new people came along in our conference and, weren't part of that decision as to why we were creating the network, and priorities change. I get that. It came under heavy criticism for not getting the same distribution that others were getting, not generating the revenue that others were getting, but obviously still delivering on the mission. If you look at our success in Olympic sports and sports like, talk to any of our women's basketball coaches, they will credit the Pac-12 Network for what we've been able to do in helping them recruit and get the kind of exposure and recognition they deserve. And I was certainly a believer that owning and controlling the network
would best position us long-term in the upcoming TV deal, allow us to be nimble as we move to things like streaming and the FANGA companies getting involved. And I think the wisdom of that will prove itself in 2023 when the team goes out and negotiates our next deals. I think people will look back at that decision and the patience, strategic patience we had to show as, and be grateful for that. But it certainly has been a painful few years as you watch the SEC with better distribution and Big Ten with better distribution and more TV revenue where they've sold the equity to other partners surpass us in that regard. So, of course, there's things I would do differently. One thing is I probably would have done shorter deals so that we would have had a chance to reset and kind of hit the promised land that I know is coming sooner because the last few years have been tough with a lot of new people in the league that don't value the exposure and the strategic reasons we created the network and are struggling trying to keep up with the Joneses financially and to get a lot of pressure from fans. So I certainly get it. I guess that's the one thing we could have done differently.